You know, the clock doesn't run down.
I think we've got a trade here, guys.
Okay, and this is what I was afraid of. A trade is in. Go ahead.
Moving back.
What do we got?
Back. So I don't know how far back just yet, but that's what it sounds like, is that they will not be picking at 21.
Oh, wow.
So is it Willis? Did somebody make a move for the quarterback? Did somebody make a move for Jermaine Johnson? As Bert mentioned, it looks like the Patriots will not be making the move for Johnson.
All right, so we believe the Patriots are trading down. We're going to give some information as soon as these guys have it. I was just about to ask, do you think the Patriots are willing to take a PR hit tonight, to have a bad night, to have fans throwing their shoe across the room and hitting the TV screen across New England? Do you think they have the appetite to do that? I think we have our answer that they do have the appetite to do it. What do we know?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have the team that they're trading with yet. I don't know, Phil, do you have it?
I don't either. Nope.
Yeah, so, I mean, the idea of trading back in this year's draft was what a lot of teams wanted to do. I think you saw that between, 11 and 20, a handful of teams traded back, and you want to be in the second and third rounds of this year's draft.
So the question is how far back?
How far
to
back,
me,
right.
Because I think, they have the opportunity if they wanted to. Michael, there's a team like Cleveland out there that's very analytically driven. They're sitting with their first pick at 44 overall. Would they be willing to go that far back? That, to me, is too large a jump, but would get you a pretty significant compensation package for picks tomorrow, I would assume. That's the question to me, is how far back are you willing to move and try to stay in this second tier?
Go ahead, Mike.
Kansas City is a team.
Hey, Phil,
they traded with Mike. They traded with Kansas City.
So, Mike, hold on one second.
Okay, so they traded with Kansas City.
Go ahead.
And they're going down. I mean, we 29 or 30s where Kansas City's picking. So now we're looking at it. Give me a second here. And the terms are coming.
At least they're sticking in the first round, is what that tells you.
Yeah.
And if they're moving back about 7 picks, I would imagine it's a fourth-ish, somewhere in that range.
So they get an extra fourth for this.
It might be a little bit more than that, but
the Chiefs wanted a corner, so maybe they're coming up for McDuffie or Elam here.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Patriots have traded.
They've traded back with Kansas City.
They've traded back with Kansas City.
New England gets the 29th, 94th, and 121st picks. Okay. So they get a third rounder and a fourth rounder to move back.
Late third and a late fourth.
So 29, 94, 121.
That's not bad.
There might be another side to this, so there might be another pick going back.
It's not bad, Mike. I know you scoff at that. It's not bad in a draft where that's where the draft is strong, at least
Kansas
according
City
to the people that we talked to.
Trent McDuffie.
Okay, so McDuffie goes.
I don't agree with you, but Mike, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike. What do you got?
Oh my God! And then they take a corner, and then they take the corner, and we were just talking about what a desperate need it is for the Patriots. Look, I told Mike Felger earlier this week, Phil and Bert, I said, Felger, if I had $1,000, I'd bet $900. This is before I got to Vegas and started gambling. I said, I bet $900 that they're going to trade back because of what we were just talking about, anywhere from 30 to 15 to 45, 15 to 50, good value, on and on. That's one. Two, if they're trading all the way back, I don't think they're going to get a corner. I think they're probably looking at one of those linebackers who are still going to be there at that range of the draft. And the other thing, Mike, could you just shout out the number to 98.5? Can you shout out the number? Because we're going to start early. We're not going to start at 2 o'clock. We're going to start right now, get them all lined up. Phone lines are open.
But if they could still sit there in the late 20s and maybe get Elam or get Kyler Gordon, who's an incredibly athletic corner out of Washington, McDuffie's teammate, who's a better fit for them in that man scheme, would you take that, Mike, for the extra picks?
Here are the parameters of the trade. To move from 21 to 29, the Patriots pick up the 94th pick in the draft. That's a sandwich pick, right? That's a comp pick from the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's
a little more than a comp.
Is it right before the comp?
Listen, it's not a third rounder. That comes after the third rounder. The 90. How many? Oh, I
96.
guess I'm sorry. That is a third rounder.
Okay.
All right.
Bad math on our part.
You know what? That's bad math on my part.
Here.
All right, fine. That's the third round pick, and then they pick up an extra fourth.
Technically.
I've got 2 things, so just please let me get this out, and then you can go. 1, we just spent about 10 minutes praising Trent McDuffie and talking about what a great player he is and what a great fit for the Patriots he would be. Then the Patriots trade out of the pick, and Kansas City gets that player. So why aren't we criticizing this move? You love that player. Here's
something interesting. Buffalo just traded up.
Okay, so now Buffalo's going to take, but here's my point. You just spent 10 minutes on this guy, but what a great player he is. And now the Patriots just traded out of the pick where they could have gotten him, and you're okay with the trade? That doesn't make any sense. And let me tell you this. We talked about this today on the radio. This whole thing about You can get someone at 20, just like you can get someone at 50. There's a whole grouping of players that are all the same from the 20th pick to the 50th. That's bull crap. That's a cop-out on the part of a scout. You're telling me the 21st player and the 50th player are exactly the same, that one's not going to be better than the other? Bull crap. It is the scout's job to tell me in that grouping of 30 players who's better than the next. So do your job. Tell me who the 21st player is and tell me who the 49th player is. It's a cop-out to say, oh, they're all the same. It doesn't matter where we take them and who we take. It's not going to work out that way, and you know it.
You know what the host cop-out is, though, Mike? The host cop-out is to look at us and say, we've only been talking about Trent McDuffie. We've talked about a half a dozen guys, and I think this is how the Patriots look at it. They have a half dozen guys that are on their board that they like, and they say, well, we could get McDuffie here, or we could trade down a little bit.
I know
and
what
one
they
of these
think.
guys, okay, so one of these guys from those six players that we just mentioned out here will be available to us at 29.
And how's that philosophy been working out for him recently, like the last 5 years? It sucked. It hasn't worked. So I don't know.
They've actually been trading up the last 5 years, and they've run into some problems. It works. It doesn't work. It's the draft. It's like that's just the way they do it.
Yeah,
Like,
I know that's the way they do it. Now let's discuss whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing. I think it's the wrong thing. If they had more success recently, I'd go along with it. What the hell? But they haven't had success doing it. And don't tell me, Mike Holley, that the 21st pick and the 50th pick are exactly the same. It is the team's job, the scout's job, to tell me who's better. So I'd like to see the Patriots tell me who's better.
Right. Or listen, first of all, it would be the wrong thing if all we had was Trent McDuffie. It's Trent McDuffie or bust, and then you move away from the last good player on the board. But we also spent a lot of time talking about, Mike, hey, there are some good players. There are a couple of good corners here. There are a couple of good linebackers. Devontae Wyatt, as I'm looking, he still hasn't come off the board yet. Your Packers just took the other Georgia linebacker, Kay Walker, out of Georgia. So, look, there are a lot of good players. The problem I have with this is that Kansas City, I know that there are two ways to look at it. Kansas City gave up two picks to move up 8 spots. That was a move of desperation for Kansas City. That's one way of looking at it, because the last time we saw them in a win, Gabe Davis was scoring 4 touchdowns against them. And if not for their inability, Buffalo's inability to defend with 13 seconds left, Kansas City would have had that lasting memory. It could have been desperation, or Kansas City had a bunch of picks. They had some capital that they weren't going to use. They had 12 draft picks, so they had some room to make some moves. But the Patriots, I will agree with you here, Mike. The Patriots need to start acting with that same desperation that these other teams have. This is a different day. You can't keep moving back and saying, well, we're going to get value. Get value. Yeah, you can get value, but how about that player we're talking about?
I care about the players, not the extra picks.
Not good players.
Well, it's a third-round pick or a sandwich pick. I want a player, not a pick. What's the latest?
The discussion between you and Mike just reminded me of an old saying the Patriots used to shove down our throat back when you were covering the team. Do business as business is being done. They used to always say that.
So get aggressive is what you're saying.
Get aggressive. If like what you're up against in the AFC and look at it, it's Josh Allen in Buffalo, Justin Herbert in LA, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. How are these teams behaving? Do business as business is being done. I think that's what you're up against in the NFL. Yeah,
it looks smart. It looks smart if the right guy falls to you. That's what I would say. I would wait to criticize until we get to 29. And if Elam's gone and they got to trade back again to get value, then we rip them.
I don't know these players like you do. So
I'll just say this quickly, though.
Go ahead.
Just real quickly, Mike, we talked about it last night. Now, look at the AFC East. Garrett Wilson just went to the Jets. So you have a great receiver potentially with the Jets.
Buffalo.
You got Tyreek Hill in Miami. You got Stephon Diggs in Buffalo.
This is too funny.
You got to defend these guys.
So
now Buffalo's gotten the guy that you wanted to defend Buffalo.
So now the other corner just went to Buffalo.
Yes.
All right, so you all just whipped it out for about 10 minutes for the 2 corners that were on the board. The Patriots could have taken either one. They traded out of them. So now we should criticize the Patriots.
Now we can criticize.
Okay.
Okay. Deep breath.
Brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when the drains don't flow.